If you're anything like us, you probably find yourself, well, constantly amazed by just how complex this digital world is that we use every single day.
Oh, absolutely.
Think about your favorite online store, maybe, where you buy pretty much anything, or those streaming services that somehow just know what you want to watch.
Yeah, it feels seamless.
It feels completely effortless, right?
Yeah.
Instantaneous. But of course, on that incredibly smooth experience, there's this just unbelievably sophisticated web of engineering.
A lot going on under the hood.
Exactly.
Okay.
And a lot of that digital magic, it turns out, is powered by something called microservices.
Right.
Now, you're probably familiar with the basic idea. You take these big, complex applications and you break them down into smaller, kind of independent bits, components.
Yeah, little teams almost, each handling one specific thing.
Right. Like one service might handle the payments, another one does the user logins, maybe a third is just managing the inventory. They all work together, but they're, operating independently.
Doing their own job.
And here's where it gets really interesting, or, well, challenging. When you have dozens, maybe even hundreds of these independent services, and each one is keeping its own detailed notes, its logs about what it's doing.
Yeah.
How on earth do you figure out what went wrong when something breaks? Especially if, say, clicking one button, like Buy Now, actually triggers actions across 5 or 10 or even more of these services.
It's a huge problem.
Imagine that big online store again, maybe during a huge sale. A payment fails for someone. Okay, so do you check the payment service logs? Or maybe the inventory service? What about the user account service?
Right. Where do you even start?
Exactly. Without some kind of unified view, trying to untangle that knot. Well, it could turn a tiny glitch into a potentially massive problem, costing companies serious money every minute things are down.
It really could. Yeah. The pressure is immense.
And that's the precise problem we're going to dig into today. Centralized logging. It's this really ingenious and frankly absolutely critical solution that brings all those scattered separate logs into one central usable place.
The key is making it usable.
Totally. So our mission for this deep dive is simple. We want to give you a really clear understanding of what centralized logging actually is, why it's not just, a nice to have, but truly essential for modern software, and what kinds of powerful tools developers are using to make it all happen.
Yeah. The tools are important.
Think of this as your shortcut to getting your head around a really vital piece of the tech puzzle that honestly keeps your digital life running smoothly, most of the time completely invisibly. So let's get into it.
Sounds good. And it's true, the complexity just ramps up so quickly. When you've got that kind of distributed setup like microservices, each service is spitting out its own really detailed stream of events.
Right.
Without a central system, trying to find one specific thing, or even just follow a single user's journey through all that. It's an overwhelming amount of data. It really is like looking for a needle in a haystack, except you've got hundreds of haystacks.
Yeah, that needle in multiple haystacks image really sticks.
So, okay, we know every microservice is logging its actions. User logged in, payment failed, whatever it might be. How does this central system actually make finding that needle possible when things inevitably go sideways?
Well, exactly. That nightmare scenario you described, trying to figure out a payment problem where you've got logs scattered across maybe dozens of different servers.
Yeah.
That's precisely what centralized logging is built to fix. It's the whole practice of collecting, storing, and then managing all those logs from every single microservice in one central accessible spot.
Okay.
So instead of developers having to jump between all these different machines trying to piece together clues, everything gets pulled together, indexed, and it's all available right there. It basically turns that sprawling, kind of chaotic mess into an organized, searchable library.
Okay, that makes sense. But then once you have all those logs flooding into one central place, don't you risk just creating a different kind of data overload, like just a massive swamp of logs? That's a great point. And that's where this idea of app-wise logging really becomes, like you said, your superpower.
Right, organizing it.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about structuring those logs so you can easily filter them. You can say, okay, show me only the logs from the payment service for the last hour, even though you've collected logs from everywhere.
Gotcha. So you can slice and dice it.
Precisely. And that's critical because, like we said, in microservices, one user action might touch 5, 10, who knows how many different services.
Hmm.
So tracing that whole journey needs a view that's both consolidated and filterable. App-wise logging makes sure that even with this huge fire hose of data coming in, you can isolate exactly what you need to see. It makes troubleshooting and monitoring way, way simpler, usually through, pretty intuitive dashboards or powerful search tools that let developers zero in on problems super
Right.
fast.
So instead of digging through everything.
Yeah, imagine you suspect an issue with your payment service. Instead of wading through logs from user profiles, inventory, recommendations, everything else, you just instantly filter and boom, you see only what the payment service was up to. You can find the problem in seconds, not hours.
Okay, okay. So given that complexity in the solution, let's step back. Why do we really need this? I mean, what are the absolute core problems it solves in the real world? Things that maybe aren't obvious right away.
Right. Well, the first and probably the most immediate win is just easier troubleshooting.
Okay.
Let's stick with that failed online order example. It might touch the payment service, sure, but also maybe inventory, shipping, even the notification service telling you something went wrong.
Lots of moving parts.
Exactly.
Hmm.
With centralized logging, a developer gets this single kind of holistic view of all the relevant logs from all those services all in one place. They see the complete story of what happened.
So it connects the dots.
It totally connects the dots. And this isn't just about making diagnosis, a bit faster. It can literally save companies from huge financial hits. Think about that e-commerce site during a flash sale again.
Yeah.
Every minute it's down or malfunctioning costs thousands, maybe more. Without centralized logging, finding the root cause could take hours. A small glitch suddenly becomes a multi-million-dollar headache. Centralized logging turns hours into minutes, potentially.
Wow. Okay, that real-world impact is huge. And I guess that ties straight into improved monitoring too, right? Because logs aren't just for emergencies.
Exactly. They're not just for when things are on fire. They're a goldmine for understanding how your system is performing, like right now.
Like error rates or slow responses.
Yeah, error rates, response times, weird spikes in activity, you name it. Centralized logging gives you that single dashboard, that unified view, to monitor the health of all your microservices together. It helps teams spot potential problems, sometimes even before they actually impact you, the end user. It's about being proactive, checking the system's pulse constantly.
Proactive health checks, I like that.
And for the developers actually building and fixing things, this all translates into dramatically better debugging.
How so?
Well, when a new bug pops up, and they always do, developers need those detailed logs to basically reconstruct the exact sequence of events that led to the failure.
Right, like a detective story.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Centralized logging lets them search across all the services involved, filter by really specific timestamps, or even filter just by one specific application or service to pinpoint the exact cause. It's like being able to ask the system, okay, show me exactly which service messed up that checkout at 2:07 and 7 p.m. and tell me what happened just before that across related services.
And you actually get an answer.
And you get an immediate, precise answer. Instead of spending hours manually digging through log files on different servers, it's a massive time saver.
Okay, makes sense. So beyond just fixing bugs and keeping things running, you mentioned something else, security and compliance. How does
Right.
logging fit in there?
Oh, hugely. Logs are basically this unchangeable record of everything that happens in the system, and that includes potentially suspicious activity.
Like hacking attempts.
Exactly. Unauthorized access attempts, potential data breaches, weird internal behavior. Centralized logging makes it way easier to track these kinds of security events, spot patterns that might indicate an attack, and critically, meet regulatory requirements.
Ah, like GDPR or IPay.
Precisely. Laws like GDPR or IPay often require organizations to log user actions and keep detailed audit trails. A centralized system simplifies creating and managing those audit trails immensely. It becomes a core part of your compliance strategy.
So it's not just operational, it's actually a legal and security must-have in many cases.
Definitely. And then there's one more big piece, especially for modern systems that are always growing: scalability and maintenance.
Right, things get bigger.
They always get bigger. As your microservice architecture expands and you maybe go from 10 services to 100 or even more, trying to manage individual log files on each server just becomes completely unworkable. It doesn't scale.
Just too much manual effort.
Totally. Centralized logging systems are designed to scale efficiently. They can handle storing massive amounts of data and Crucially, they still support those app-wise views we talked about, so developers can focus only on the logs for the service they care about without getting drowned in data from hundreds of others. It keeps things manageable even as the system complexity explodes.
Okay, wow. So the why is incredibly compelling. Easier troubleshooting, better monitoring, faster debugging, security, compliance, scalability. It covers a lot of ground.
It really does. It touches almost every aspect of running modern software reliably.
So then the next logical question is, how? How do teams actually do this? What are the tools people use to collect, store, search, and actually make sense of all this log data?
Right, the practical side. Well, if you're talking about sort of the heavyweight champion, the gold standard for many years, that's probably the ELK stack.
ELK.
Yeah, ELK. That stands for Elasticsearch, Logstash, and Kibana. Although nowadays it's often just called the Elastic Stack.
Okay, break that down. Elasticsearch, Logstash, Kibana.
Okay, so Logstash is the component that's really good at collecting logs from all your different sources, your microservices. It can parse them, transform them, enrich them. It's like a really flexible data pipeline for logs.
Got it. The collector and processor.
Exactly. Then you have Elasticsearch. That's where the logs get stored. And crucially, indexed. Elasticsearch is amazing at indexing huge volumes of data so you can search it incredibly quickly. We're talking searching petabytes of logs, potentially.
Wow.
Its real strength isn't just storage, it's that super fast, complex querying capability. It lets developers trace maybe a single user request across dozens of services in just milliseconds. That's actually a really hard problem to solve without a dedicated tool like Elasticsearch.
Okay, so Logstash collects, Elasticsearch stores and indexes for speed. What's Kibana?
Kibana is the front end. It's the user interface, the dashboard. It's where you go to visualize the log data, create charts, dashboards, and actually perform those searches we talked about. It makes exploring all that data much more intuitive, even for people who aren't, deep data experts.
So ELK sounds like a really complete, powerful solution, especially for big, complex systems.
It absolutely is. Very powerful, very flexible.
But what if you need something maybe simpler, particularly just for the collection part, or maybe something to feed into a system like ELK?
Yeah, good question. That's often where a tool like Fluentd comes in. Fluentd. It's another really popular open source tool, but it's more focused on being a lightweight, unified data collector. It's really good at gathering logs from all your microservices, tagging them nicely, maybe by which app they came from, and then reliably sending them off to wherever you want them stored.
Oh, so it could send them to Elasticsearch.
Exactly. It could send them to Elasticsearch or to a cloud logging service or even just a simple file store or database. Its big advantages are that it's generally quite simple to set up and incredibly flexible. It's robust enough for big production systems, but it plays really well with other tools, especially helping with that app-wise tagging before the logs even get to the central store.
Okay, that sounds really useful, that flexibility. Now, what about teams that are already deep in, say, AWS or Google Cloud? Do those big cloud providers have their own answers to this?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. If your microservices are already running in a major cloud environment, it's very common to use the cloud-based logging tools provided by that platform. Think AWS CloudWatch logs or Google Cloud Logging, Azure Monitor
Right,
logs.
like the native stuff.
Exactly. These services are built right into the cloud platform and designed to integrate seamlessly. They can often automatically collect logs from services running within that cloud, like containers, functions, VMs.
So less setup, maybe?
Potentially, yeah. One of the big draws is convenience. The cloud provider handles all the underlying infrastructure for collecting and storing the logs, including the scaling. You don't have to manage Elasticsearch clusters yourself, for example.
Oh.
And they typically offer decent dashboards for viewing logs, filtering by application or service, and setting up alerts based on log patterns like tell me if error rates spike.
So they handle the heavy lifting on the infrastructure side.
Pretty much. It's often a very convenient starting point, especially if you're fully committed to that cloud provider's ecosystem.
That's a really clear overview of the main players. So if we kind of wrap up the how, it sounds like ELK or the Elastic Stack is maybe the go-to for that really deep, powerful analysis and handling massive volumes with fast indexing.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Fluentd offers that great simplicity and flexibility, especially on the collection and routing side, maybe feeding into other systems.
Very adaptable.
And the cloud-native tools bring that unbeatable convenience and automatic scaling if you're already living in that cloud world.
Exactly. Different tools for different needs and scales, but all aiming at the same goal.
And it seems like a really critical common thread, regardless of the tool, is that they all support organizing things in that app-wise way, and they generally have strong community support behind them, which is always important.
Yeah, that app-wise view is crucial. And you're right, the community support for tools like Elastic and Fluent is massive, which makes finding help and examples much easier. What really stands out, though, is how all these tools tackle that fundamental challenge of distributed systems getting visibility and control over something inherently complex and well distributed.
Making chaos manageable.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
So let's try and bring this all home.
Yeah.
Centralized logging, it's clearly not just some, obscure technical detail or a nice to have.
Definitely not.
It really sounds like it's a fundamental, absolutely essential practice. It's underpinning the reliability, the security, the sheer efficiency of pretty much all the digital services you rely on constantly.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of the silent hero working away behind the scenes, making sure your online shopping works, your streaming doesn't buffer, your apps just run. It turns those potential system meltdowns into, well, hopefully just quickly resolved little hiccups.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It prevents so many fires.
And maybe just to leave our listeners with something to think about, if we look ahead, microservices aren't getting any simpler. They're likely becoming even more interconnected, more complex.
True.
So what could be the next frontier here in logging? Could we maybe see, I don't know, smart logging systems emerge? Systems that don't just help us react to problems, but maybe use AI or machine learning to actively predict them before they even happen.
Ooh, that's interesting. Proactive predictive logging.
Yeah, imagine systems spotting tiny anomalies, subtle patterns across services that humans might miss, patterns that often precede a major failure.
That would be a game changer.
Could we get to a point where your digital experience isn't just seamless, but almost feels like clairvoyant in its ability to head off problems before you even notice? An even more invisible, utterly reliable digital world.
That's definitely the direction things could head. Using all that log data not just for forensics, but for foresight. It's a fascinating thought, for sure. Something to keep an eye on as this whole space keeps evolving.